Hello, hello, please take a seat, get some food beforehand. My name is David Endler. I'm one of your organizers of this meetup. And the other co-organizer, JC Roca, JC Wave, is right there. Welcome to the Austin Hardware Startup Meetup. How many of you is this your first time at this meetup? Awesome, welcome. And by show of hands, how many of you are working on a hardware project or product right now? Wow, that's awesome. Great. So tonight, you're in for a treat. This is your first time here. We typically have a format where we do some demos. And if you want to do a demo at the next meetup, just email us. We'd love to have you present. And then we typically have a sponsor. So if your company would like to sponsor the next event, let us know. We have a feature presentation tonight. As you can see, we have some cool stuff up here that you'll learn more about. And then at the end, we typically do kind of an open mic. So if there's something that you're working on that you'd like to share, if you're hiring, if your company is hiring, or if you just want to introduce yourself and maybe there's an idea you have, you're looking for collaborators. And then at the end, we just try to network, schmooze, and try to get out of here by 8:30. The only thing I'll ask is at the end, please throw your trash away, or else JC and I have to do all that with the 4 people from Capital Factory who are so nice to lend us their venue. So first things first, I would like to introduce Chad Ambrose, who has a Kickstarter campaign that's active right now called the Make Time Clock. So take it away.
Thanks, David. Yeah, so the product is called Make Time Clock, and this is what it looks like. It's a single block of walnut milled out with a series of LEDs. And the device is really for people who have side projects and creative work and passion projects, but struggle to find time to do that work. It came out of helping my wife, who runs a small business and make quilts. And very simple device. You clock in whenever you sit down for your work session. The light will blink, and eventually after 30 minutes it goes solid. And there's a companion app that allows you to customize those times, and it gives you kind of a historical view of your creative rhythm and when you're more productive and when you're not. And so that's the basic use case. Internally, we're using a particle photon, which is a pretty awesome Arduino-compatible little chip that I highly recommend. It has Wi-Fi and all kinds of cool firmware over the wire and stuff like that. But yeah, we're on Kickstarter. I left some cards back there by the napkins. We're sitting almost to 75% with a couple weeks to go, so not in the clear yet, but feeling good. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. Yeah?
Is it battery operated? Or?
No, for the first version is plug-in, just regular AC.
How much?
So we're selling for $99 this run. We had some early bird prices, but it's sitting right at $99. Cool, thank you guys.
So tonight we are very grateful to Tech Shop for sponsoring food and drink. And tonight we have Mark Emanuel, the general manager of Tech Shop, to say a few words and let you know more about this awesome company. So Mark, take it away.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Thanks. Evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. David, appreciate you having us out. It's, I'm looking forward to a great presentation from friend Antonio. And Jeff also, as part of the work that he's done there, that he presented tonight, is done at Tech Shop as well. So just a quick show of hands. How many of you have never been up to Tech Shop? Absolutely wonderful. This is a great audience full of opportunity. How many of you have actually never even heard of Tech Shop? All right, so marketing is done well. We just haven't got you up to the shop. That's what I'm here for. So Tech Shop is a workshop. We've got a full complement of all the equipment you would need to make just about anything you want to make. Everything from the woodcraft, the handcrafted woodwork that you're going to see here tonight, to the electronics that are embedded into the products you're going to see here tonight. Injection molding, full CNC woodwork, CNC metalwork, CNC lasers, vinyl cutters, Again, injection molding, vacuum forming, everything you would need to go from concept to a finished product, and then take that finished product and scale it up through a low level of production. And that's what we're here for. The goal is to democratize access to all the tools of innovation in manufacturing. So it's really targeted, it's available to the public, open to everybody. We see a great cross-section of folks in the shop on any given day from all areas of the community. The promise of Tech Shop is for anybody that's ever walked into a store and seen something and thought, you know, I thought of that 2 years ago, and just never actually did it. To take an idea from a napkin into a finished product and take that product out in the market. Those are things that happen at Tech Shop pretty regularly. You're about to see another, again, chap launched his product through development at Tech Shop, and Antonio's going to show you some of the work he's done there as well. So a lot of opportunity to come in, learn the equipment. We're a membership-based organization. You come in, think a gym membership, buy access to the shop, get trained on the equipment, and then we're a 24/7 shop. Come into the shop on your time whenever it's convenient for you and make the things that you dream of making. So I'm not going to take up a whole lot of time, but anybody have any questions about the shop and what we do?
I have a question, but you forgot to say you have a 3D printer.
We do. We have 3D printers. We've got 4 on the floor right now, about to get a 5th one. Those are the filament style. And hopefully in about a month, we'll have a Formlabs Form 2 SLA printer available as well. We've got a I don't think I mentioned it, but a water jet that'll cut through about 5 inches of anything, marble, steel, glass, fingers. It'll do a good number. And we see a lot of creative work coming out of there as well. Any other questions, comments?
What's the membership look like?
So the standard membership for a recurring membership is $150 a month. If you're just come in and buy 1 month, it's $200, but if you sign up for a recurring, $150. We are in the holiday season though. So we've got some specials running right now, and if you keep an eye out for Black Friday specials coming next week, you're going to see the best deal on an annual membership that you'll see all year. And feel free, I got a stack of cards. Come grab one for me. You can get it so I can get your email, and I can send you the link. I'm happy to do it.
What is your email?
So my email is mark.emanuel with 1 M. Close. mark.emanuel@techshop.ws. Or you can also send an email to manager.arr, Austin Round Rock, @TechShop, and that'll come to me as well.
If you have a partner, do you have to buy 2 memberships, or can just one at a time be there?
So there's a couple of ways to go about it. If you have at least 3, you do corporate membership, so all 3 folks can get in. If your partner's a family member, you can do a family add-on to a regular membership for $50 a month. It's pretty nominal. Or if you have somebody that wants to come in and help you with the work you're doing, you can get a day pass as well, just as often as you need it. To use the machines, anything that can hurt you or that you can hurt, we require you to take a basic use class on. So if you bring in somebody as a guest that hasn't taken the classes, they can't actually use the machine, but they can help you all around the steel and the metal and pull the wood. They just can't use the equipment until they actually get checked out and put it on the safety aspects of the gear chest.
What do you guys have for electronics, like PCBs?
So it's a loaded question, right? So our electronics lab, we're partnered with National Instruments, so we've got a full complement of National Instruments equipment. We've got virtual benches on 6 stations in the electronics lab. LabVIEW loaded on all of the systems, so you have full access to that. We have MyDAC and MyRio components available for use in the lab, so we teach classes on all of those, everything from LabVIEW, DAC and Rio, and a series of experiments. We have, so the desktop, the virtual bench from National Instruments is all the desktop equipment you would need, no scope, power supply, voltmeter, digital logic analyzer. We also have the more classical desktop versions of those, so no scope, power supply, signal analyzer, those kinds of things, available on 2 of the stations in the shop. We are coming soon. We are working on a PCB manufacturing capability. It's we're taking a desktop CNC machine and setting it up to do etching on a PCB blank. So you can do 2-sided through a whole PCBs, or you will once we get all the bugs worked out of it. We're close. We actually have finished products that have used it. We just got to do it in a way where members can understand how to use it. And we have on our radar, in the next few months, we'll have a 5-zone reflow surface mount soldering installation. So you can do the PCB etch and then the surface mount application of it. Those are a little bit down the road, and I'm hoping within the next 3 to 4 months we'll have all of that set up and running. Any other questions? Have any of you actually built anything at Tech Shop? For those down the back? Yeah. Excellent. So it, aside from all the equipment and stuff that we talked about, one of the major elements of Tech Shop is the community that's there. You can go in on any given day and see just some of the craziest stuff that people will put together. When you put creative thought and the community around all of that equipment, some of those sort of things come out. So I encourage you to come up. We do tours from 8 in the morning until midnight. Just come in and talk to the front desk. We'll give you a walk around. You can see all the equipment, and there's a good special that runs if you want to sign up that day. And again, keep in mind we're in holiday season, so we've got some good short-term and annual specials coming up in the next week. Thanks again, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you, Mark and Tech Shop, for sponsoring. Just a reminder, please turn your cell phones on vibrate. I'll just give a couple more nods to Tech Shop. Not many of you might know, but the Square credit card reader, the one that Square has just went IPO. It's worth billions and trillions of dollars now. They actually prototyped at Tech Shop, and actually another one, not as well known, but have you heard of boosted boards or boosted board? How many of you seen the YouTube video recently of the flying carpet? Okay, so that was a boosted board underneath. So that was also prototyped at Tech Shop. So there's actually a lot of really cool products that come out of it. And the cool thing is, I will say, I'm a member. I like the classes and getting a little bit of knowledge into an area that I know nothing about. So they could actually have textile, making, sewing, yeah, stuff like that.
Absolutely. So wearables, if you're working on wearables, we've got the sewing machines and the CNC embroider, so you can put your wearable into a wearable thing. Come on up and see it.
So we are lucky to have Antonio Rodríguez, the CEO of Pretty Smart Homes. Now, Antonio is going to tell you a little bit about his active war stories. He's deep in the trenches with post-Kickstarter success of the Pretty Smart Lamp Reloaded. And so you can see a large version of it. He'll tell you all about it. I was lucky to be backer number 1 on this Kickstarter project. And so I am extremely excited that we have Antonio here tonight. Please welcome Antonio Rodríguez.
Thank you. Hello, hello. Hello, Austin. I would love to do that. So, let me start this. First, as a matter of fact, I'll do the disclaimer first. First, excuse my accent. I'm from Mexico, so I've been trying to adapt as much as possible. The only thing I haven't been able to do is to speak Texan, but the rest, I'm getting there. So, second, how do we get here? So first, it's an idea. Like a couple of years ago, sorry. After following trends and everything, it was clear that Internet of Things was coming. And me being in software, having been on the whole Internet thing, I said, well, I do want to be there. So what do? Internet of Things is everything. It's like saying, oh, the Internet is coming, I'll do a website. So anyway, I've always loved home automation. So the first thing I said, okay, I'll try to do something about home automation. I like lighting in general, playing with lights. So I said, okay, I have something. I started playing with lights, making some prototypes, etc. And then this came out. First, one of the things I would like to tell you, I'm mainly a maker. I mean, professionally, I do software engineering. I'm an electronic engineer, but most of you have more expertise about everything that I'm doing that I do. But one of the things that makes you a good maker is to always be looking for the people that is around you, that knows more than you, and take tips from them and learn from them, and then start to assemble everything. So that's exactly what I did. And while I got to everything, you're going to say, oh, you could have saved a lot of time if you did it this way or that way. For me, this was a learning experience. I've done software before. I know how to do it. I've never done hardware. So everything, the whole thing, including going to China, was a learning experience. So we did a Kickstarter. Last year, for several reasons, it failed. One of the main ones, I'm sorry, is trying not to do it close to December. But I failed. We failed. So, but the main thing is it was a beautiful alabaster lamp. The main thing that we learned, presenting and taking feedback and everything, was that we had a product that was too expensive. So we said, okay, we already have a prototype working, so try to make one less expensive. So that's how we engage with Tech Shop. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I like the most about Tech Shop is that I was signing with them the first day of this year, and in 3 months we had the new prototype ready, everything, which is this lamp, and we were ready for Kickstarter, which was in May. So it was indeed what I would call rapid prototyping. I would like to tell you, I did know about laser, but not enough to make this. I did know about CNC, but not enough to make the bases. So most of what I learned was there. So when I say 3 months, including the learning curve of how to do, what to do, and indeed do it. So the second Kickstarter was a success. How do I click here? I'm going to show you the video of the second Kickstarter, so you understand everything that the lamp does.
Sorry, that's okay. Stupid Dropbox. Several things that are included in the video. If you're going to do a Kickstarter, I would like to share it with you quickly. The first thing is that on the first Kickstarter, we learned that most of people are pledging. The one that pledged, they're doing it in working hours. So the first thing you think is, well, they must be doing it from a mobile, because if they're doing it from the PC, it's pretty obvious. Someone will know that they're actually not working.
So one of the things that we did was to take completely the audio, the voice, not to talk about not talk about anything on the video, but rather just text. Because if you have a smartphone, you will not put your earphones on. You will just watch it. So that was one of the tips, and I think it paid off. Well, anyway, a little more things about what the lamp does. So before I go into this, I would like to propose something. Normally, questions are until the very end, but this is, I'm covering 2 reports at the same time, one for Texture, one for China. So it's a little long. So if you want to interrupt me and ask a question, please don't. No, I'm kidding. Do it. So if you have any question, you can just interrupt me, ask me, and I'll try to answer right then. Okay, so one of the things that helps software a lot was Agile software. It was the concept that in reality, it looks like a very fancy concept, but it came because you could do software updates. In reality, what happened, it was, oh, we'll do that later. And then you put everything that it's very essential into the first release. And then you know that the next releases are going to include everything that you have down the road. So that's what came in software. Hardware is coming to the same thing. First, in prototyping, in a sense that there's quite a lot of tools, I'm going to talk about them, that help you do the rapid prototyping. But second, if you're doing hardware, believe me, about 90% in any Internet of Things or any of the new stuff that you're making in hardware, like 90% of the work is actually software. It's actually the firmware that goes inside. So in that sense, you have the same thing. You can say, okay, this is what is essential for the first version to come out with, or the apps, but as you're evolving, you can include all the new things. So that's how hardware it's becoming the new software in which you can iterate really quickly. So you need access for rapid prototyping. You need access to tools, access to information, knowledge, access to manufacture, and most of all, believe me, a sense of adventure, because it comes with surprises every day. Access to tools, electronics, CNC, lasers, software. In the case of Texture, the Dream consultants, they're really helpful with the learning curve. This is my case, and a lot of you would say, wow, why don't you use Altium if you're really being professional? Well, I'm using EagleCAD. It's great as a software, and there's a free version, so that's the one that I'm using, and it's been good enough for what we're doing. I'm doing 2 layers. I did it on purpose. I didn't want to go into 4 layers because it would be more expensive. I didn't need 4 layers, so I kept it at that. So that's what I've been doing for the electronics. For the modeling, Fusion 360. I don't know if it still applies or it doesn't apply anymore. But when you're in TechShop, you're actually a student. So you can get a student version of Fusion 360. It's really great. It's not SolidWorks. Those of you who say, "Oh, SolidWorks is really great," it is really great. So great that it would be like me trying to compete on a Formula One. So this is great for, this is actually the base for doing. It paid off learning how to use it, and it's a web version, so it just increases in functionality as I've been using it. Software, CorelDRAW. Why CorelDRAW and not Adobe Illustrator? Well, you could use Adobe Illustrator. You have to do vector. Basically, because this is the one that mostly has a printer files. Thank you. This is the one that has the printer files for the laser machines. So if you want not to do double steps like Adobe Illustrator, then CorelDRAW, go directly into CorelDRAW and you can print out of that on the laser machine. I don't know if you've noticed, this is not glass, this is actually acrylic, and it's laser. It's laser cut, it's laser edge like a printer. There's, I could talk a lot about this, but we won't have time. One hidden secret. This is very important. If you're doing electronics, and this for me, how many of you have heard of OSHPARC? Okay, everyone should know about OSHPARC. It's one of the things that is changing electronics in the US. Before, if you did your in prototyping, I mean prototyping. If you're doing a board before, you only had the options of sending it to some close or local or even China for manufacturing just a few boards, and but it would come at a rather high expense. So if you want to rapidly iterate through them because you have this or that problem, it becomes really expensive. So what these guys did, they did a homepage, a web page in which you go over there and you tell them, okay, these are my Gerber files, and they do like a collage of all the clients and send it in the US for manufacturing. And you cannot believe, like this one, which is the main board. It's small, it's not that big, it's like this. I'm paying about, what is it, $5 for 3 of them, plus shipping. I think the shipping is more expensive. But the thing is, and it gets to you in 10 days. You can do a premium one for $80 more. But the thing is, you can really rapidly iterate having access to this. And the problem that they solved is that it is too expensive to make a whole panel for circuits just one time. So if it has a collage of everyone's, then it's quite a lot more cheaper for the manufacturer, and they're passing this saving on to us, the customers. So just a quick look at TechShop. This one of the tools that I'm using the most is the CNC. Wow, that's loud.
Well, it's actually that loud.
There. So at first, and this was one of the advantages at TechShop, when I first signed up on TechShop, I was thinking of making a plastic lamp. When you think of a product that is going to be inexpensive, the first thing you think is about a plastic. And I was thinking about molded plastic. The problem with molding a plastic is that the mold itself is really expensive. But the advantage that they had at TechShop is that they have the CNC, metal CNC, in which I was planning on making the mold over there. And then they have a small injection molding machine in which if it's only for a small run or a small prototype, you are able to make it yourself there. So that was my first approach. Then I say, well, let's not make it just cheap, let's make it pretty. And then this came out. So this video shows the different steps that are taken into making the lamp. That's where from the laser machine. That's actually the laser machine. That's Fusion 360. The CNC. Okay, so this was the first prototype. It was when we were making the alabaster lamp. As you can see, this is a frosted acrylic. It was meant to change into alabaster. One of the first light, one of the first circuits. Then these were the prototypes ready. This was our preparation for Kickstarter. Back then, tech shops and ourselves were able to help a lot. We did lamps for all the tech shops in the US that they placed on the front, and they were opening tech shop Europe in Paris. So we did some special lamps for tech shop. They were at the Makers Fair at the opening of Tech Shop Paris. So it was great publicity. This happened exactly when we had the Kickstarter, so it brought us a lot of traffic. It also helps, let me, you know, this is not showing complete, gosh, I'm forgetting. Okay, so it also helps to have partners. This lamp, actually this lamp belongs to one. They have they use this in their own exhibitions. They have a coffee machine. When they're showing the Internet of Things, the coffee machine, they with a tablet, they order the espresso, the coffee starts being made, and when it's made, the lamp shows that it's made, so basically. So that's again, more free publicity. So, access to information and knowledge. I already told you about dream consultants in tech shop. They're really, really valuable. Most of all, when you know nothing, they help you ramp up whatever you're trying to do, and it's very project specific. So it's not like well, they have courses and everything, but it's not like okay, I will give you general information, but I won't tell you anything about how you can do your project better. So that's one thing. The other one is Alibaba and AliExpress. I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of Alibaba and AliExpress, if not for other things, for everything that they've been doing extremely big, like this single sale that they just did. That blew out any 24, what is called February 24th. Got the idea out, sorry. Well, anyway, quick story. Alabaster, in Alibaba and AliExpress, it was how I did everything before I went to China. It started with when we were doing the first Kickstarter. I was trying to look for alabaster. I couldn't find alabaster anywhere. I was using Egyptian alabaster, but it's kind of ugly, yellowish. I needed white. So I went to Alibaba and found out that one of the best alabaster quarries in the world is right in my hometown. So I had to search in China to find out that close to Monterrey, Mexico, that there's a really great alabaster quarry. So that crazy is the whole information that you can find over there. Another thing that helped me a lot is that when I had my circuit ready, I needed to know, I started thinking, well, how much is this thing going to actually cost me? So I submitted a proposal in Alibaba for the Gerber files, and like overnight, I got 30 responses, all of them telling me, give me 2 days, give me 1 day, give me 3 days, but we'll quote you. It was incredible. Suddenly, I opened up myself to receiving spam from everywhere. I was receiving information, but actually it was good. When I went to China for the first time, I had pre-selected already 5 manufacturers in which I had been back and forth with them, asking them for price, asking them for pictures of their facilities, learning from them. This was my first time again for everything. So in everything I was learning more and more. So this is a show of like how you get all these proposals, the response for your RFQ. Let me try to do something here. It's not showing the bottom line. Well, anyway, I'll do without the bottom line.
Let me fix it for you.
Yeah, there's a little part here that is new. There you go. Thank you. AliExpress. AliExpress is like the eBay version, if you will, of Alibaba. AliExpress, you actually go to stores. Not that you want to buy something there, but at least you start getting reference of prices. They have chats. Most of the time they're actually there if you're there at night. Another disclaimer, if you're going to do something with China, you better start thinking that you're going to be awake until 1 in the morning. Because everything starts happening at 9 o'clock their time, AM, 8 o'clock our time, PM. Yeah, got it right. Yeah. So anyway, AliExpress, they have specific prices. They're showing the prices, whereas Alibaba, they only show ranges. Because in Alibaba, you have to actually send in an RFQ. On AliExpress, you can buy 5, 6, whatever amount they're selling. The thing is, it gives you a sense of the market. I used it a lot also because one of the early things that I did was to to get in contact with one that you would feel familiar with. And then what I started doing once I got a contact in China was I would send him the link to AliExpress, and I would tell him, okay, I need this. What price can you give me? And of course, they're Chinese, they get better prices. So they would tell me, okay, I'll get it for you for so much. And it was up to me to take it or just go directly to the store that was offering. Okay, so now we're on the first trip to Asia, China. As a matter of fact, it was my first trip to Asia, the only time before I was briefly on the Asian part in Turkey, but that didn't count. So it was to familiarize. Okay, I've been doing everything online. Another tip: try not to call them. Believe me, it's better to Skype them than to call them. Not because of the cost, but because if you think my accent is terrible, wait until you hear theirs. So they're very good at writing though. And besides, if you're doing writing, it keeps a log of everything you're doing. So most of the times, once you establish first contact, you interchange Skype names, or whoever has WeChat. It's even more popular over there. WeChat, exchange WeChat, and the rest of the communication is through that. My goal was to select the manufacturer. As I say, I already had 5 of them, which I felt comfortable with. I needed to get a final one. So all of them, I asked exactly the same thing. I want you to take me to your facilities. I will not go to your office. I want to go to your facilities, and you will let me take pictures. So those were my conditions. As a matter of fact, several of the one I narrowed down was because of that, because they wouldn't agree to those conditions. What I was trying to avoid is someone selling me the services of another one. So I wanted to deal directly with who I was going to be dealing with. So it was select manufacturer, select logistic partner. This was very important as well. I was not planning, and I did not plan to be visiting constantly China. So for me was I need a local contact that can be my eyes, in which their loyalties are going to be to me and not to the manufacturers. One of the key things that I did was that and that's also how I narrowed down the list. I didn't accept that the manufacturer would buy the supplies, the components themselves, because there's a lot of going around that they change them, they buy them cheaper, etc., etc. But most of all, what I wanted to have it's a grab of the money. So what I did is that my logistic company that I would select would handle buying the components. Since I knew reference prices because of AliExpress, I could just say, okay, quote me all these that I need, all this BOM, and I would accept or not accept whatever was being quoted. In general, it worked really well, and also it turned out that the same company now it's even doing the disbursement of payments locally in China. What I'm doing is instead of sending PayPals to everyone from here, what I do is I just do a wire transfer to their Hong Kong bank, and they pay locally to everyone that is finishing their work. They have to send it locally to my logistic partners, and then they send it to me for be it a final product, be it a prototype, whatever it is. And of course, the trick was to check, and check again. I learned a lot through Skype and pictures and websites, but there's no substitution for actually being there and touching and seeing everything. So, well, the first thing, it's a different culture. You get crazy things, you will not see this driving, not even in Mexico. I was going through this huge highway in Shenzhen. But as a matter of fact, this is all in Shenzhen, and I'm not trying to speak for the whole of China. This is my experience in Shenzhen. So I saw that I had to take a picture, of course. I didn't even know how it was working, less of all how it was being permitted to drive. The other thing, in the city, you see a lot of motorcycle with luxury cars, with the diversity is huge. And also, that picture, I was in one of the tallest buildings in the world. You see all those differences in the same city. They are very friendly. Each one of the manufacturers, as a matter of fact, I think if there's one thing I didn't spend in was food. Because they all invited me to lunch every day. My whole staying over there was paid. As a matter of fact, in a lot of them, I was thinking, I don't think they're going to make enough money with me to pay for this lunch. But then again, they're thinking on the long term. They want to get a customer. And the lamp was everywhere, as you can see. Another advantage in Shenzhen, this is very specific to Shenzhen, is a place called Huaqiangbei. It's the biggest electronic market in the world. So if you need whatever you need electronic, you walk and you find it. There's almost, I think, 95% of the electronic that you will think of, they're there, and you can get it. And so it's great because you can actually go and pick your little pieces, and you're looking for a special button, you'll find it there, etc., etc. So it's a great asset. It was also great that the logistic partner that I chose, it's on the same building as Huaqiangbei. So normally I just tell them, go get me this and send it to me. So that works for me. Now, when I was showing you and talking about AliExpress, one of the things that I learned is that most of the stores of AliExpress in Shenzhen are actually in Huaqiangbei. So if you go through these little booths, this is the definition of siesta. So you actually see they're not expecting, they're not waiting to talk to you. They're actually working because they're selling to AliExpress. And if you approach them, then they'll talk to you. But most of their sales, and they have the whole logistic over there. They also have pods. They put whatever they sell, they put in boxes over there, and they have the transportation. So the whole building is a complex logistics of retail plus warehouse, if you will, in which they actually ship from there. Now, these are some videos that I took from manufacturing. In this case, it's a PCB. Here, I was really trying not to drop my phone into plastic.
You can see over there the actual trays being put. And you can see the size of the machine. This is more about PCB manufacturing. These are the routers that are making the parts. Again, very noisy. There was 8 of them in parallel, making 8 PC plates at the same time. Then I went into the pick and place machines. Another pick and place, in this case the tray. I did need it that they had a tray because one of my components comes in the tray, so they had to be able to use trays. That is a tray. Well, that is a tray, you get it. Oh. The assembly floor, some pictures of the assembly floor. Then this is one of the things that amazed me. I don't know if I could take that pressure. Actually, this band is moving and they're replacing components really rapidly. Over here, they're doing some soldering. Of course, they were doing some other companies' circuits at the time.
This is for the fumes.
Really, really fast. So. Okay, so that was the first thing. Then it didn't come without surprises. At a certain point, when we were going to do the assembly, I was talking with them. I did a special software that would help in several things. So what we're doing over here is Bluetooth. So one of the advantages of Bluetooth is that you can do a firmware update over the air. So I took advantage of that, and I did an application that the only thing that would do, the only 2 things, the first one is to test all the sensors, test everything. They even had to connect power, push a button, tap, so the accelerometer would work. I didn't just want to make an electrical test, but rather a functional test. So this software would test everything, and it would be, the LED would be blanking really rapidly. There's an LED on the back. And when everything was okay, it starts flashing slowly. So that was their indication that everything was okay. So that was the first goal. The second goal was that it include the DFU to update some software that when it would come to me, I would not have to physically connect, but I would do a over-the-air update of the real software that goes into the lamp. And of course, that came with the advantage that I didn't have to send the real software over there. So as I told you, 90% of the work is software, so that's what you really want to protect. So that stayed with us all the time. I was trying to explain them how they were supposed to test everything. I saw that it was going nowhere and they were about to start production. So I took literally the next plane to China. I was less than 24 hours. One of the advantages is that it's very easy to fly from here, to drive to Houston. And once you're in Houston, it's very easy to get into Shenzhen. One trick, don't fly into Shenzhen, fly into Hong Kong and then take a ferry. Flying into Shenzhen is hell. Hong Kong works beautifully. So I did this trip. I talked to them. I took the opportunity to tell them, okay, little correction. They had finished the manufacturing. They were about to begin testing and to begin assembly. They had finished to do the assembly, the automatic one with the pick and place with all the circuits on. They were about to start doing the manual assembly in which they solder by hand and they test everything. So that's the part that got tricky. So I went over there, they showed me the circuits, I tested one of them myself and said, this is working great. The modules, if you see these modules, I did a trick over there also. Since the Kickstarter will tell you everything that you need to do about your production, I didn't know how it was going to turn out. Of course, I was expecting a huge home run, but it turned out to be a good run. But for that, a lot of the things you do not want to pay fixed cost. One of them is FCC and CE. Since it's a device that it's radiating, you have to get certification from FCC and from CE to cover most of the world. And also, since it's power, you need to get a UL certification. So the things I did in order not to pay for that was to find a module that was already pre-certified. So someone else is paying for the massification and for that certification. I'm using the module that the price was good enough to make it for a production, so that's what I use. And the other one was to use a charger. So charger, you just find one that is pre-certified, and you're good with that certification. And then the circuit got here. Believe me, I cannot express the relief that you sense when you actually get the box of circuits. It's like, okay, now I can breathe. There's quite a lot of unknowns in the middle, so you have to be solving problems almost on a daily basis. Then I went back to what I already knew, but I had to start. It's actually the circuits are made in China, but the board and the design, they're made here in Austin, in Tech Shop. One of the great advantages about that, again, about whether you do a home run or a middle run, I think it was even better that I was doing a middle run, because I got to learn. If I would have sold 1 million pieces, I would have never tried to do it myself. It's just too much of a risk. A medium run, 500 units, you can solve your problems as you go along, and you can learn as you go along. For example, the very first circuit we did had a problem with the LEDs. The LEDs, it turns out that these very special LEDs that I'm using, that everyone knows them as Adafruit, pixels, whatever, NeoPixels, there. So these, even when they're turned off, because there's no light being they draw 1 milliamp of current. So one of the latest things that we did before we did the Kickstarter was say, oh, let's throw in a rechargeable battery. So everything came kind of late, and we didn't have a chance to check that we were having leakage there. So we had to correct that circuit that took away like a month and a half of delay. But we were able to just say, okay, all the circuits that are already done, they haven't been assembled. So just drop them, let's make a new run, etc. If we would have made 1 million units, we would have never been able to correct our path. Everything would have to be perfect. So the same is for here. These runs, I can do myself 50 bases per night. Most of the work was already on Fusion 360, optimizing how to make it, both sides, how to make it quicker, how to panelize it, etc. So now it just babysit the machine, and the machine does all the rest. Of course, there's a lot of cleaning to do, but it's something you can do yourself. If you're doing 1 million units, you have to let someone else do it. It's not something that you can do. In the second trip, I say, well, I'm over there. One of the things that was put up for later was the box, the presentation box itself. So I used the time to visit several manufacturer boxes. It helped me a lot that I learned enough about Fusion 360, because I didn't know anything about boxes, but when we went to the manufacturer, they showed me what they had. They showed me this material. It's called EVA. It's a very nice dense plastic. So I knew I didn't want this. So in front of them, I did this model. Instead of drawing in a paper, I used my computer, put it over there, and tell them, this is what I need. Can you make it? So believe me, it saved quite a lot of time, because it was right there and then that we made our interaction. By the way, here in the box. And turned out great. The boxes are, this is a prototype, the boxes are on the way, but even that part we were able to solve without knowing anything about boxes prior to that. Thank you. Now, you left the question for the end, so questions?
So even though you use the pre-certified FCC modules, don't you still have to get FCC certification for the overall enclosure?
Not that I know of, because I'm using the module as it is. I'm not changing an antenna. If you change the antenna, I'm sure you have to. If you don't modify the module, you don't have to. The rest of the module is your own certification, in which you're not emitting yourself.
So, you found your manufacturer through Alibaba. How did you find your logistics partners in China?
Alibaba as well. I placed an RFQ of the bomb, and I received several quotes, responses. And I started talking to all of them until I selected one.
Did you calculate any kind of percentage of savings on your BOM from sourcing it in China versus in the US?
Yes, I more than halved it. So I would say about, and this is not including the manufacturer, just the components themselves, I think 40%.
comment on how you get the materials here? Did you ship it air or by sea? It's pretty spendy, right?
Well, actually, I think there's so much going on between China and here that it's cheaper to send something from China to here than from Mexico to here. I know that for a fact. And they get quicker. In some cases, it's more expensive. Like these boxes, they come assembled. So in this case, I'm paying more for the shipping of the box than the box itself. But even the shipping plus the box was less than a third of the price that it costed to make it here.
Is this shipped by air or is this shipped
Air,
by sea?
yeah.
Air.
I'm pretty sure that if you have bigger logistics, if you can send pallets, it could be even cheaper. But you would have to ship more. One of the things that confuse a lot of people is that they think that you cannot do anything small in China. It has to be huge. As a matter of fact, I found out that they will do any size you want. If you want to do 50 units, 100 units, they will make it for you.
Having been to China a while back, there was a tremendous problem with dishonesty. How do you know you'll ever get your product? It was unbelievable how dishonest the situation was 10, 20 years ago. Do you use like an escrow, or do you pay in advance? How do you pay? How do you receive? How do you clear the goods?
Well, there is risk. At a certain point, that's the reason I was telling you. When I finally received the goods, I say, "Oh, it worked." But I will. You mitigate your risk somehow. For example, what I did with the software was not to send it. What I did with the money was not to send it, but just to send it. Everyone asks 100% upfront. I only accepted 30% upfront. Not because I didn't think they would make it, but rather because I was thinking that if I have the leverage on me, I can more easily solve a problem that could come down the road I thought it was like this or like that. It's easier if you owe them 70% than if you already paid everything. So yeah, you mitigate it as much as you can.
You mentioned that you're first producing 500 of these and you're assembling them here in Austin?
Yes.
So what's your plan to ramp that up?
I made 1,000 of everything. Of course, I haven't made 1,000 of these, but electronics 1,000, boxes 1,000, everything 1,000. It did came a little late. I was planning on starting advertising for Christmas. We're late for advertising for Christmas, so we'll just try to do something in between Christmas and spring. The big advantage of the lamp is that we can do whatever we want on the top. It can be seasonal, so we can change it as we want.
How much does that smart module cost when you got it from China?
Say that again?
The smart module, how much did that cost through China? The Bluetooth 4 module?
Oh, just the module itself?
Yeah.
$650. So it's a reasonable price.
Expensive.
Huh?
So I'm not sure you got 40% on that. That's still kind of, that's how much it costs here too.
No, well, it's $650 over there. I actually don't want to say the one I got. I don't want to expose I actually went to and met the guy that was making the modules. Yeah, you got me. I got it cheaper. I wouldn't expect someone doing the math.
When you were in your prototyping phase, did you have any issues with sourcing single units from via Alibaba? Like you said, until you get the box, you never quite know. I would never pay a U.S. company via PayPal and have FedEx pick it up for me and organize all that, but I have recently via Alibaba. So, did you ever run into any issues?
Yeah, for example, the batteries. When I was selecting the batteries, I ordered several batteries from different vendors. I found quite a lot of them to be fake. So that was a process that I did do. You have to put into your formula that you're going to do a lot of trial and error until you get it right. Luckily, the circuit itself, the whole module, I was doing it myself, so that wasn't an issue.
How did you market your Kickstarter campaign?
So I almost didn't. That was bad. I think being a maker and being an engineer, you don't pay too much attention to marketing. So we did some Facebook advertising, etc., but not as much as we should. We got lucky that we got Staff Select, so that brought us a lot of traffic. As a matter of fact, the first week, nearly 70% of our traffic was from Kickstarter. I mean, that's a double-edged sword, because what I was thinking, at the moment that the popularity drops, everything's going to drop, because I'm not doing anything myself. If I would do a next Kickstarter campaign, I would take quite a lot more time to marketing to get the word out there, and then do the campaign. Any other question?
You said you did about 1,000 boards. What's the minimum that you think you could have done and still been more cheaper to do in China than here?
Well, the thing is that the tooling cost is so low that you can even do 100. I mean, the tooling cost is ridiculously low. So you can run it again anytime. So as a matter of fact, that's something I used. I told them, okay, just throw that and charge me a tooling cost again and run it again, because it didn't affect that much on the whole figure. So yeah, if you're doing 100 units, it does pay off as well.
Yes. So you said you were basically a software engineer. So in tech shop, how did you get up to speed on the CNC machine, 3D modeling and all that? I mean, did you take their classes or?
Well, you're required to take a class for every machine that you're using, but it's mostly basic. It's more for your security, it's a security class and the basics. No, just talking to the people from Tech Shop, they're called Dream Consultants. They're experts on different areas, some on the laser, some on the CNC, etc. So you just go ask them. In my case, it was a big learning experience. It started with how do I model? And then you start making things on your own. A lot of the experiments on how to use to get the model directly from Fusion 360 into the shop, but I had to figure it out myself. So it's a combination.
And so it was just you, or you had, when this whole project was just you, or you had a team?
My son, Antonio as well, and my daughter. You saw it on the video. We have a family membership, so basically he does laser, CNC, I do as well. My daughter does laser, graphic design, etc. Any other question? Okay, well, thank you.
All right, my name is JC Roca, and we're here to do announcements. So if you would please raise your hand, and I will bring the mic to you. Any announcements?
I think this is the right time, but if anyone's interested in working on a camera that would monitor a lot of things, a lot of around you, and then encrypt it and put it on the cloud in Switzerland or something, I'm very interested in security cameras and other things like that for personal security and maybe fun too. So that's my project. If you're interested.
What is your name?
Oh, sorry, Grant Rostig. Thanks.
Any other announcements?
Okay. So I'm looking for people for a couple of projects. One is PCB designer using Eagle for a small board. Another is STM32F4 firmware. So does anyone program the STM32 parts? All right, good. Thank you.
What in particular are you trying to make?
What in particular are you trying to make?
It's for the People Project, the door cameras. Me, Craig Solinder, and Chris Shear. Thanks.
Any other announcements?
Hey, so I'm pretty new to this, and this is my first time coming to this meetup, but I really want to start developing some products, and I just need some really good mentorship. I have the funds available to do anything, but I just need mentorship, and if anyone would be interested in helping me or partnering up with me, I'd really appreciate that.
Your name?
My name is Deep.
David?
Deep.
Okay. Any other announcements?
I just wanted to supplement the OSH Park information. There's also OSH Stencil, and there's also an Arduino project with a solid-state relay. You can build a reflow oven pretty easily with a Black & Decker toaster oven. So, something to look into.
Any other announcements?
Back here, Jason. Jason.
Hi there, my name is Andre Lamont. I'm the CEO of Nerve Networks here in Austin, an embedded developer, but I also do manufacturing for the last 15 years. So if anybody would like to build something, a circuit board, whatever in China, and just is overwhelmed and bewildered at where to even begin, I've done it many, many, many times, and I can kind of help you and consult on it and get it done, with the least amount of pain for you. So, like one of the things he had a problem with is testing, for example. When we do things in China, we make a video of the testing. We write a manual, so we know exactly what to do. That's exactly one of those kind of things. So, anyway, Andre Lamont. Nerve Networks, you can contact me at ceo@nerve.net, or just come up to me if you want to do something and manufacture something. I can help you out. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, we're not going to be meeting in December. We're coming back in January, right? Third Thursday in January. Thank you for coming.